Hey people, it's Steel Gamer here with an Assassin's Creed Odyssey video explaining that Conquest on Nightmare mode is completely broken. And I'm going to go into explicit detail, and there's a lot of stuff to cover, so bear with me. There is an order in which I'm going to wind up doing things in, and it will make sense when I go through it. And at the end, I will take everything that I've explained and show you and apply that in the actual battle itself for Conquest. So the first thing I'm going to get out of the way is this strictly applies to Nightmare mode only. So people that want to try to link video showing it's on normal or whatever, that doesn't apply here. The second thing here is after I post this video, people will try to, I'm not allowing comments under here because I'm not allowing any counter arguments to be used with stupid statements such as you're not trying hard enough, you need your equipment leveled, or any of this other garbage that has nothing whatsoever to do with the actual issue that's going on in here. And finally, the last aspect about this is this whole problem reminds me of when Ninja Gaiden was released for the original Xbox. Apparently the company that programmed the game didn't realize they programmed the first boss so hard that usually when a complaint comes out, it's a small fraction of the people who play the game that post this complaint. But this went beyond that. This was like 98% of the people that played the game complained to the company that the first boss, you programmed it so ridiculously hard that almost nobody could beat it. I think there was like maybe 4 people that actually beat it, and they even had a problem with it. So what happened was the company had to recall the game, and then reprogram it, and then re-release Ninja Gaiden Black, which basically allowed the first boss to be actually somewhat dealt with. It was difficult, but it wasn't to the extreme it was on the original version of it that they released. So that's the history on that, and that problem is applied to here, and I'll go over every little thing here showing that there's a major issue with this. So first things first, I'm going to explain what people can't counter with this. So first of all, people trying to say, oh, go up in levels. That doesn't work because when you level, the game levels with you, which means it doesn't matter whether you're level 15. If you're level 15, the enemies are going to be level 15. If you're level 20, they'll be level 20. And the thing I find the most interesting about this is that what I'm going over is shown in videos and stuff on the net with people doing this at level 8, level 9, level 10, 11, and even 12. So they're all lower levels. Like I'm level 11. Now, somebody who was a higher level than I'm a higher level than obviously some of the level 8s. I have access to engravings and gear they do not have. Plus, I can wear gear that they don't have. That's a key factor with this, because people are going to try to ignore a bunch of things in this. So let me continue here. People try again. So basically, to quickly sum up, people trying to say level up, that's not going to work. Next, you get into the gear. That doesn't work either, because when the enemy levels, it adjusts how their gear and attacks are with the damage that they can take to the damage you can deal out. Nightmare mode actually only applies to the enemy's health and how much damage they dish out and how much damage they take. Other than that, it pretty much remains the same. So, now you get into people saying, oh, you're just bad at playing. That has no relevance to the actual issue, which I'll be going over, so I'm not going to get into that right now. I'll get into that when I get into the actual Conquest. Next, you have people saying use the right weapon. Well, I got to tell you, I've done this Conquest 150 times. I've done every combination of every weapon, skill, use, move, everything you could think of. So this wasn't just thrown out there. I've done this repetitively till I've exhausted all options. So using a weapon has no relevance to the actual configuration of the battle that actually happens when people are playing it. So whether or not you have a sword, a trident, a blunt weapon, a heavy blunt weapon, a staff, a dagger, whatever. The enemy's attacks don't, your weapons don't circumvent how the enemy attacks and what the enemy's doing when they attack and the configurations that they use. Okay, so that being said, let me get into the skills here. Alright, first of all, assassin skills cannot even be used. They don't even show up to be used, especially this one. If you could use this ability in the battle, then I wouldn't even be making this video. But the fact of the matter is, that doesn't even work because you don't have to be stealth. You don't have to do anything. You can just do that. It's basically a flash grenade. That's what it is. So what winds up happening here is that you have an ability that doesn't even show up to be used. So even if I would have set that, it wouldn't work because it doesn't. It's not even a selectable option when you're playing the game in battle. The archer skills are completely useless because you don't have the time enough to actually use the skills the way you normally would if you're perched on a ledge or something like that. You can't use any of the special abilities. You can only just sit there and peg them off, a piece at a time. So that leaves melee. This skill is totally completely useless because at the speed in which enemies follow you, how many enemies are following you, and the attacks that they do, by the time you charge this, you're hit. And when you're hit, it interrupts the ability for you to charge it, and it undoes it. That skill is completely useless. The reason I have it there is because I thought it was okay. Next, the health issues. This first part only hits 25%, as you can see. However, if you're going to do 35%, you must progress further on in the game, which only comes after this conquest, not before. And the reason I bring that up is because this refers to people level, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. You can't even get to that until you're further on in the game. So you only have X amount of health that can be refilled. Alright. The kick basically doesn't really do much anyway. Yeah, it's nice, but it's not going to really help you out when you're fighting the final part of the conquest battle. So yeah, it's a nice move, but it doesn't really do much. The actual moves and the abilities and stuff that you have here, these passives, are these. So those are actually crucial to what's going on. And then flame only works if you can actually hit the enemy and get the enemy on fire. Then you have the shield breaker ability, which should be assigned. So let me see here. I'm going to put it on A. So I'm not even going to use that. So I'm just basically using all plow over abilities. This ability here is the only thing that's actually really decent because it will stun all the enemies off of you. So that works in a group because you can actually pull it off. You'll probably get hit in the middle of it, but at least you can pull it off. Alright, that being said, let me go over a few things here because people seem to want to say, well, this is this, and, and start making these stupid comparisons about the damage ratios that they're able to deal out as well as the damage that the enemy's not doing to them or lack of damage that's going on. Okay, let me explain. On Nightmare, there is no engraving at my level, and there's no equipment at my level. At my current level, there's no engraving, equipment, or skill I can use to dish out massive damage. It's just simply not possible. There is no weapon you can use or anything else. This is all leading up to me showing anybody trying to link a video or showing things in a video. So there's no engraving, no gear equipment, and anything else that will allow you to deal massive damage to the enemies to kill them fast enough. On top of that, there's no engraving or anything else that you can put on your weapon that allows you to take less damage from the enemies. So that being said, the reason why I brought all this up, and the reason why I just covered everything, is because people doing this in videos at level 8 are either A, not doing it on Nightmare, or B, they're cheating. They're either using friggin' cheat engine or some other trainer to adjust the stats on their character and or their weapons. Because I've watched people, I have engravings and stuff that are higher than a level 8, and I cannot even do the same damage levels that these level 8s are doing, and I cannot take the same damage that these level 8s are doing on here. So the fact that that is even happening proves that they're cheating, or they're not playing it on Nightmare, because if I can't do it, they're not able to do it, because I have higher engravings than they do, which means I can actually deal more damage than them. So and for them to not even have those engravings means they wouldn't even be able to touch the damage ratios that I can do. So that is an actual fact you can't get around. So anybody trying to say, well, the level 8 is better than you, wrong. They're either cheating or they're not playing it on Nightmare. That leads me to the health issue. I've watched a lot of videos where, since you can't get 35%, you only get 25%. So you only fill it up a quarter of the way your health bar a quarter of the way each time. So if you're at half health and you activate this, it only goes to a quarter of, it'll go to 3/4. If you're at a quarter, it goes to half, and so forth down the line. If you're at 3/4, it'll go to full. But there are videos that I've watched where supposedly on Nightmare where they're at half health, they're healing, and it's completely refilling their health all the way. That would be 50%, not 25, and even 35% doesn't do that. And you cannot get 35 or 50% until you're further way through the story, which happens after this conquest. So the fact that they're actually doing that during this conquest at a lower level than me proves that they're either cheating or not doing it on Nightmare. Now, the last final aspect because of how this battle ensues, which I'll explain it and then I'll go into it and show you, is that when you fight the enemies in this, 2 of them come at you at a time. Now, granted, they'll team up. That's challenging. That's not an issue. But what happens here is if you're in the middle of hitting an enemy in succession to knock them over, the last sequence of hits you do will knock them out of the way. And anybody that's in the way of that succession will also get knocked over. Now, you can pull that off occasionally, but usually what happens is when you're in the middle of that succession on that last hit to knock them over, your attack gets interrupted by an enemy that comes up and lunges at you. If the enemy lunges at you, it will hit you. If you don't move out of the way, it'll hit you. But either way, if it hits you, it interrupts the ability for you to do that last segment to knock them over. But if you don't want to get hit, you have to dodge, which means you stop the attack, and then thus that last sequence of moves won't knock the enemy over. So either way, you can't knock the enemy over if the enemy's coming at you. Next, you have certain enemies that will instantly, somehow, when you're in the middle of hitting them, when they're stunned, all of a sudden just instantly regain their composure, block the hit, and then start charging at you, which in turn you have to back up or you'll get hit. So this whole thing of enemies instantly regaining composure and attacking you is partly why this is broken. Now, when you get to the final part of the battle, where you have to kill the enemy captain, what winds up happening is, instead of having 2 enemies at you, now you have the captain and the other enemies coming at you. So now you're dealing with 3 enemies. So it's even worse trying to deal with the captain on melee, because every time you go to hit him, you're getting surrounded and attacked by 2 other guys. And every time you kill off an enemy, another takes its place. So it's always replacing anything. That brings me to the point on why archery is completely useless. Because while you normally have a 2 enemy ratio, but when the captain shows up, it's 3 enemy ratio. If you're running around the battlefield trying to hit them with arrows to keep them at a distance, what you wind up doing is you wind up hitting the other enemies, so now you have 5 or 6 other enemies on a constant basis. And so your arrows actually start hitting other enemies because they dodge out of the way or do whatever. That brings me to the final point about the captain. The captain has a succession of hits, and he has multiple versions of these hits. Meaning he'll do an attack which has like 3 or 4 hits to it. That's a combo, and he has 3 different types of them. So this combo is an instant 1-hit kill. As soon as you get hit by any part of it, you're dead instantly. The problem with if you're trying to stay away from him is that he will shoot poison bombs at you, and then somehow has such deadly accuracy that can hit you no matter how you move or what you're behind, or if you're crouching down behind a rock and he can't see you, his arrows hit you, whether it's the poison bomb or he just pegs you. So what happens is you need adrenaline in order to actually use these to gain health. But what happens here is you've used all your adrenaline on these, and then in order for you to gain adrenaline, you have to hit an enemy. But if you stand still, he pegs you with arrows, or you get hit by sucker shotted by another enemy, or the enemy miraculously blocks and staggers back and hits you. So what winds up happening is at a specific point in the captain battle, you can wheel the piss out of him, and as soon as you take a quarter of his health out, everything changes. What winds up happening is you wind up getting fucked over because you will constantly keep getting pegged by arrows if you're at a distance. If you get near melee, the other enemies are all hitting you. you can't run away from them because now you have no adrenaline and now you're getting pegged off by arrows that every bit of health you gain is instantly taken away from you, rendering it useless. And since you've already gained the health off of this, which uses the adrenaline, now you have no adrenaline left to gain the health back you just lost without stopping to hit an enemy. And because you have no health left and you're down, either being poisoned or whatever, as soon as you go to try to attack an enemy with this, 9 times out of 10, sure enough, the deadly accuracy arrow hits you and you're dead. So you can't get around this. So my point here is that anybody trying to link videos about, oh, you know, this is, you're just not, you know, here, it shows it being used. I don't give a shit about the videos. They're either cheating or they're not using it on Nightmare. As simple as that, because you cannot do half of the stuff in these videos as that they're showing on a Nightmare Conquest battle, which I will prove now by going in there and doing it after I don't mean now, but after I'm done explaining this. The next thing here is people saying, oh, you know, get good. That doesn't have anything to do with the fact on how the enemies attack you in the situations that occur during this battle. Another thing, no matter what weapon you use doesn't change the enemy's attacks, and the enemy's attacks always wind up doing this. And so when you're swinging a heavy blunt weapon around, or a pike around, you know, a trident, or whatever, in a wide arc, somehow, miraculously, the enemies don't get hit by that and just reach up and hit you. It's like, you can't lunge in when there's a giant swinging attack going on. So, that's an issue. So, in order to fix these problems, Ubisoft needs to patch the game to either A, remove all archery arrows from this entire thing. There's no ranged attacks whatsoever, and that includes you. B, they need to allow you to use some assassin skills like this one. Or C, they need to, as soon as the enemy captain comes up, they need to stop having other enemies involved. It's just you and the captain. I know that's, I know that's how battle is, but what's going on is completely ridiculous. So, without further ado, let me go in and show you this, and keeping in mind every single thing I just said. Okay, so I'm going to show you the weapon I'm using first, and then I'll actually go through and show you that it doesn't really matter what weapons you're using. The same outcome will start happening as soon as you get to so there's specific points that this thing is scripted to do. There's nothing you can do about it. There's no tactic. There's no gear. There's no anything. So it's not even relevant. All right, so here is the weapon I'm actually using. Okay, if you take a look at this, it's 8% damage on Athenian soldiers, 3% weapon damage with heavy blunt weapons. So this is going to do a massive amount of damage. But just so you know, I'll even purchase a sword for the sake of this video and do it. So this video is going to be a little lengthy here in this. Okay, so if you take a look at the dagger, assassin skills are pointless, so you wouldn't actually use a dagger with this. You'd use some wide-arced weapon such as this one. So you take a look at this, 8 adrenaline per crit. It doesn't have damage on Athenian soldiers, but the fact that it has 8 adrenaline on crit is crucial here. So I'll just go over my my gear here real fast. I have warrior damage, 2% health. I've actually put 6% total armor on all these, and it still doesn't make a difference. It's still, you're getting crippled no matter what you do. Either you have to circumvent health for damage, or you have to circumvent damage for health or armor, and it just unbalances it no matter which way you do it. You take away damage, it takes them longer to kill. You have a problem surviving because now all the health you're gaining back requires you to generate adrenaline. All right, so let me go in here and show. So this is why this skill is useless. Watch how long it takes to charge this. See? I just tried doing the charge attack. That skill I told you was completely useless. There's 1, 2, 3. That's the crap that's got to stop. It's an instantaneous. See, I'm going to attack him. I can't get him. That guy right there, that guy that's right there, he's going to attack me in the middle of hitting him. I have to go after the captain now. Find the captain. Here we go. Ready? See, this is ridiculous. These guys are the blue hats are the worst. See, he hit me in before that happened. Now, I get to this part all the time. Now comes the FU part. I'm going to try to straight up attack this guy and watch what happens. See? You can't get them. These guys always interrupt your attacks. See, I have no more health left. I have no more adrenaline. And I have to use the adrenaline attack to knock him down. See, I can hit him with the arrows. See? It's absolutely ridiculous that... See, this is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous that that's allowed to happen. If he hits me with one of those arrows, I'm fucked. Yep. See, now this is where the battle turns. This shit happens every time. Where I need to gain health back, so I need to stop. So I can't gain the adrenaline I need. See? It's complete bullshit. Every time I'm about to get the guy, that shit happens. Happens every single time. So, it doesn't matter whether you switch weapons or not. Every single time, you just get pig-piled on by fucking an obnoxious amount of guys that prevent you from killing the guy. So Ubisoft needs to patch the game to stop having all these other guys in the middle of that fight. It needs to be you and the captain. They need to remove all archery, so he can't throw poison, he can't sucker you with arrows, he can't do anything. Now watch, I'll swap the weapon, and I'll show you that I'll use a blunt weapon. Obviously, I'm gonna, I'll even go get a dagger, I'll even go get a sword to show you that it doesn't really matter. So, again, now we're just doing 8 adrenaline per crit, and things like that. So, now we're gonna try it this way. Like I said, this video is going to be a little long, because I'm going to go over everything and show that you doesn't really matter how you get them down. At some point, you just get fucked over like that.
Send these Athenians to Hades!
Where's that damn captain? There he is. Yeah, how's it going, man? They need to stop this shit. They really do. This is completely fucking broken.
They will sing of your death on this day. They will cut you like a pig.
There you go. You motherfucker. This thing's a fucking pain in the ass.
Come and test your skills against a real fighter! We're winning!
The Conquest is broken in Nightmare, you can't finish it. Every fucking time. Now, I'm going to explain
The wolf
how
requested
I was
presence
able
of
to finish
mercenaries.
that is I had a cheat activated.
We shall be up to him.
The whole point of this video was to explain that Conquest on Nightmare can't be done legitimately without using cheats. Because if you try to do it legitimately, what winds up happening is
Very well.
if you go back and watch, actually you can't watch it. I think I took them all off my channel. But if you go ahead and watch, what happens during these battles is I'm going to go to quit to the title screen and I'm going to reload that. I'm going to remove this cheat. I'm going to show you what happens. Like I said, I'm doing this video to prove a point. Now, people say you can't cheat in this game or anything else. That's completely false. You can. So, if you notice that the enemy's attacks were different, what I did was I adjusted the damage output I was doing. If you don't adjust the damage output you're doing, you can't finish it. At least on Nightmare, because the way, like I said, the way Ubisoft has the game programmed, it's too much of a pain in the ass to actually. I gotta remove these autosaves. Yeah, I'm on PC. I always play these games on a PC with a wired 360 controller. The reason behind it is because they're basically console ports. That's the way I look at them. Same thing with GTA 5. It's a console port, at least as far as I go. So let me load this game up. This will put it back to where I was. So, if you go back and look at all the details and everything else I explained at the very beginning of this video, which you can do afterwards, there's just things of how the game is put together that people will try to argue against, but you can't. It's simply because of the way the game is designed. So in this game in particular, if you're level 11, the enemies are level 11. If you're level 12, they're going to be level 12. So you can't out level the enemy the way you could, and if you didn't have it that way. You can't out-level the enemy the way you normally could in Origins if you didn't have enemies set to auto-level. There's no set to auto-level. The enemies are just your level. They're above your level, but once you hit their level, they will constantly scale to you. And so, there's such thing as an engraving. Basically, it's an enchanting. It's basically the same thing as enchanting. You put a powerful item or, enhancement on your gear. The weapons work the same way. And basically, the way this game is designed, unlike Origins, when you have this skill tree here, the ability tree, you can't plow points into every single skill. Well, I guess you could, but you can't if you're just playing normally without any enhancements from the store or anything else, or the Ubisoft store, things like that. You can't just plow all the ability points into them the same way you could. See, in Origins, these trees were connected. Meaning it didn't matter which weapon you picked up, you could just use the skills for it. And so, the thing with this is that, the thing with this is that when you're dealing with Conquest, you have to set it to melee, as I explained in the video. But what winds up going on is, you can't, if you fill up your melee tree and then you try to do assassination skills, that doesn't work. A lot of people don't understand that because they're used to Origins system where these were connected, where it wouldn't matter if you had these were still connected. Now, you can do some of these things here, but the key factor here is that there actually are separate builds. Assassination is a build. You can't put points in melee and then expect to do well in assassination. You can pull it off, but it's not as effective as if you actually made your build for assassination. The problem with Conquest is assassination skills don't work in Conquest simply because you need to be in stealth. And so that's it doesn't explain why they don't allow you to use certain abilities inside Conquest. So for example, I should be able to use this because this is basically nothing but throwing sand in enemies' eyes. I mean, obviously you don't want to make it too easy, but at the same time, the way this works is you should still be able to use that ability. It's just a bit ridiculous. And so, let me see if I did this right. That is that. No, I'm going to put this here. I have 2 points, right? So let's see here, and I have one more point. Alright, so that should do it. So now I'm gonna go buy a sword from this guy down here if he has one. Because at the beginning of this video I said I'd show I'll show pretty much all these weapons being used. Now, when you have things like heavy blunt weapons, these things here. By the way, I'm explaining this for purposes of the video when I explained it. When you have blunt weapons, these are basically the same type of arc radius. Yeah, you won't do the same amount of damage with some of them, but the fact remains that you're still doing, you can block the same way, you can still do the same arc, you can still pummel them, you know, the movements for the weapon's attacks are still the same. So doing it with one is even if I were to swap it out for a different two-hander, it would still be the same thing. Same thing with a staff. Just all this other stuff that's just randomized. Alright, so let me see, where is the blacksmith in this? He's over here somewhere, I think I passed him. There he is.
Let me know if you have questions.
Bye. So yeah, so I attempted to use one of these in the video too. I need staff, spear. So let's show what happens with a spear. Maybe, I don't know, maybe a spear's different. I've never used a spear in this. Actually, no, I did use a spear in this battle. I didn't do it in this video, but I have used a spear. I've covered every single, I've like exhausted all the options in this. So, let me buy this here. If I buy this, what will happen? It's adrenaline per hit. Oh, okay. So that actually might change things. It's not just crit. That actually might change stuff.
Stop by again.
Oh, you know what? I forgot. Duh, that was ridiculous. I forgot to go and grave it.
I see you have good taste.
Alright, so let me try that and see what happens. Alright, so now it's confirmed that this game always has a different outcome for weapons when you go to a vendor. I've reloaded this game like 6 times and he always has different weapons. He didn't have any spears last time I talked to him.
Are you ready?
I did a lot of this off stream, so...
I'm ready for war.
Oh shit, I think I forgot to equip it. I can just do it in the game.
For Sparta!
Yeah, I forgot to swap it out. Find the other captain. I don't know why the captains aren't visible at first. You have to like run around till you find them, I guess. There he is. comes. $100 I'm not gonna be able to finish this.
Stain the earth with your blood!
I hope you're ready to die. I need some help.
Prepare to draw your last breath.
I guess it's up to me to knock you out. Think you can beat me? I'll show you how wrong you are.
Yep. So, as you can see, the damage ratios are a lot different. And so, it wasn't just because I had that other ability on there, it was because this game is just fucked. So, without jacking up the damage ratios, it's just, it's impossible to do. They just fucking fucked up the entire system by allowing this bullshit to go on.
What can I
So,
get for you?
it's just ridiculous.
Thanks for looking.
I'll try these and see what happens.
Are you ready to crush the Athenians?
By the way, James, what mode of play are you actually
Ready
playing
for
on?
war. Send these Athenians to Hades!
You think you can win this fight? Think again. Ha.
Of course. Gotta sucker me with a frickin' poison every time, so I can't gain back any health. Yep. Can't gain the health back. Possible. Yep. As I said, $100 I was going to lose the fight. So, anyway, the Steel Gamer signing off. I just wanted to prove a point that this just is impossible to do on Nightmare mode without cheating. That's how I was able to get it done the first time. And so when you remove it, that's what happens. So again, no weapons, no engraving, no dodging or the amount of way you fight or anything else. Allows you to do massive damage, get around the attacks that they're doing, dealing with, you know, how the enemy operates and everything else like that. So until then, for those of you playing on Nightmare, sorry, but no video is going to show that you're gaining more health than possible, doing more damage than possible. I have higher stuff than level 8s. Level 8s are doing stuff that's not possible, things like that. So until then, it's just really sad that Ubisoft actually had to make it like this, and then there's going to be people actually defending that as far as how this goes. So, you know, I mean, you can follow what I did and compare it to other people's videos. I don't understand why this guy just attacked me, but that's about the extent of it. So, that being said, I'm actually going to exit this video, and I'll see if I can figure out something else to play for the time being, and that's it. Steel Gamer signing off. Have a good day or night wherever you guys are.